Just getting back to the to your people, it's 4,000, I think, employees.
4,008.
4,008.
Yes.
You've been around 36 years. A lot of intelligence in that organization. In, you know, do you think now that the relationship between management and the employees is well configured?
It's improved. We're not there 100%, and I don't think there's any corporation that says they're there 100%. We are not where we were, say, a year or two ago, and we continue to engage one another, and because a lot of it comes out of mistrust. And we're human beings, managers are human beings, the staff are human beings. But the mood I see now is a mood that says, look, let's forget all this that we're doing and let's move. In fact, we had a meeting yesterday, the day before yesterday, with the pilots. It was a very good meeting that we had. I was very pleased to see the change in mood. And it's the same message I'm getting into my own managers also, like, you've got to change.
Yes.
You have to change the way we work with our people.
Oh, excellent. But I think also a dramatic change will happen when you receive these new big wide-body planes, right? I mean, it will just, I think, excite the brand, excite everything. And
at the end of the day, they've also realized as a staff that, look, it's us to sort out the airline. And if we don't, we're the ones who will suffer, not the guys outside.
No,
we're the first ones to be hit.
Can you talk about cargo? What's happening in cargo? I
Cargo
mean, I know you reconfigured some planes.
Cargo is an amazing story because worldwide cargo seems to have suffered last year. But cargo in Africa is booming. And the biggest handicap we've had in Nairobi is how to get a cargo out. And because, you know, the belly capacity that we have is normally full. And just by the way, do you know Jomo Kenyatta is the largest cargo hub in Africa?
Is it?
It has become the largest.
Wow.
And therefore, we decided, rather than go and buy some freighters, we decided to go for a modification or conversion of our own 737 that were getting old into freighters. We've done one of them. It has started work, and it's picking up.
And where is it flying?
Oh, we're doing Entebbe, we're doing Kigali, we're doing Juba.
Yes.
We're doing Dar es Salaam. So it's going round and round and round. And then we're taking a second one on the 16th of July. Again, there are issues around traffic rights.
Yes.
But we're trying to sort out some of them. I mean, Angola is a case in point, and it's a big business.
No, I think...
the point here is African countries are starting to trade amongst each other.
No, that's right.
And that's amongst individuals and companies, private companies, which is amazing. We're having to take sausages from here to...
You were telling me, yes.
I'm told milk is leaving this country and getting into Belgium, powdered milk, and then it comes back from Belgium to Nigeria and so forth.
Wow.
We would like to cut that off.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's quite a sweet spot, isn't it? Because if you look at all the data, inter-African trade is growing very fast.
It's growing.
It's particularly in the EAC, which I think had the highest out of all the clusters. So I think it's an interesting opportunity.
Yeah. And I think Africans have to have confidence in themselves that they can trade amongst themselves. Yeah.
Now, Project Mawingo, which obviously is your 10-year project, can you talk to us about that and paint the forward picture? What is, what does this company look like?
We look like, I mean, we started off by looking at what is available to us in terms of the market. And we looked and said, how do we grow? And we looked at growing our passenger numbers from the current 3 million to 11 million.
By when?
By 2023. And I personally think that's a conservative number.
Okay.
Because that number is driven by a lot of factors. Of course, the quality of the airport, what is happening in this country, and so forth. Because who would have predicted that what the mobile telephony companies are doing here now would have happened say, 10 years ago? And therefore, there's bound to be something else that's going to happen in this country that is going to change the whole game. So that's what we did. Now we're looking at increasing our aircraft. Currently we have 44 aircrafts. And by that time we'll be looking at about 90 or so aircrafts. So we'll double the aircrafts by the end of the 10th year. We've sliced the plan into two. So the first 5 years we've already started it and we're implementing it. And as soon as we finalize with the 787 arrivals, then we'll start looking at the second plan.
When is the 787, just so everyone knows? When is that?
The 787s are coming in March 2014, and I'd like to get a message to Boeing that for heaven's sake, don't go beyond that March 2014.
Yes.
It has to be delivered.
I remember a quotation from the previous CEO who said, "I'll never miss a delivery for Titus." I think you should remind them of that. That was a few years ago.
Yeah.
Now let's just talk about the cash position. I think there's some misunderstanding. There's a sense that you need to come back to the market soon. When I spoke to the CFO, he said, actually, we got this financing from Afrexim Bank, which has doubled up the rights issue. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's correct. I think maybe it's us who have perhaps not been very clear. When we sliced the 10-year plan into two, the first half is fully funded. So we don't need to get back to the shareholders and so forth. What then may require us to get back to the shareholders, or whoever, is the second half. And we're not there yet. So we just have to wait until we get to see where we are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now looking at Kenya Airways, are you positioned, I mean, you know, it's been a tough year. Do you think you're positioned to ride this Africa wave?
Yes, we are. If you look at the second half, as I mentioned, it's been an upturn. And I think we're ready. I mean, I mentioned the fact that we'll have a new fleet. We'll have Unit 4 ready. And that combined with the fact that you bring in a very efficient aircrafts in, I think it will give us a real strong field to play around with.
It feels like a turnaround moment, and I think that's why a lot of people were quite, you know, I think you excited people downstairs a little bit when in that interview.
I hope so.
Yes.
I hope so.
Now, just last couple of questions. The hub effect for Nairobi, how you're playing into that. Obviously, the airport is key. You've got this commitment from the president. How long before that airport looks the way you want it to look? Are we talking 12 months, 24 months?
And I speak now from an engineering point of view, from my background. I think if we put in our mind into it, we could get something in 3.5 years.
Okay.
Yeah. However, the work that they're doing right now in Unit 4 will give us some breathing space. But there are also other ideas that say, look, why couldn't we do something that is quick and not very expensive, may not be something that lasts so many years, which will be a bridging between now and when the big one comes.
Is that feasible?
It is feasible. We have discussed it and it's feasible.
Titus, you know, I had a very good experience of Kenya Airways shares some years ago. When I first came back, I bought your shares and they went up many times. And I feel, frankly, that it's a very similar moment. Titus, 36 years of being in business as Kenya Airways. You've got all this intelligence in your staff. Are your people ready for this growth plan that you've mapped out? And are they rightly tooled? Are they motivated to succeed?
I don't think we are 100% ready. And this is a journey that you have to go through because you've got to keep training people. And one of the things we did was we invested quite a lot a few years ago in our training center, which is a Pride Center. There's been a lot of training going on, especially at JKM in Nairobi out here. But what we've got to do is to start looking at, what are the things that we require as we go forward. If you look at the number of pilots, it's to start with. I remember about 6 or so years ago, we had about 130 pilots. Right now, we're talking about 460.
Wow.
So if you look at that, we are preparing ourselves in terms of the growth. We're still continuing to train more pilots. Cabin crews, we're training them. We can churn them out from our own training center. The area which we have an issue, the issue that we have is because it takes a long time to train them, is technicians. And as we're talking right now, we have a team of technicians, apprentices, who are at the National Youth Service, who are being trained. We have contracted National Youth Service for us to make sure that we are ready when the time comes. And there will be a pipeline going through that National Youth Service to bring them in. Engineers are not an issue, but we don't need more engineers. What we need is technicians. And that's why we've taken that particular route. The area where we are perhaps under siege is around IT, because we've been one of the largest IT companies, IT users in Kenya. We've trained our own staff, but unfortunately they're now being poached. We're losing them by the day.
How do you prevent that?
So what we are is having to sit down with our HR and our IS people to see what we need to do around IS to make sure that we do not continue losing the skills. So that's the only threat that I have at the moment that I'll be worried about.
But does that threat apply across? Like, does it apply for your crew, cabin crew, from the Middle Eastern airline?
No. They go, we churn them out. We train, our Pride Center now is training a lot of cabin crew who we're not obligated to employ. But they are given certificates that are recognized internationally, and the Qatars, Emirates of this world can take them. So that would not ground the airline. The pilots, we remunerate our pilots very well, and that's why we've not lost them. The few that we lost them are expatriates who wanted to go and live in Dubai. In fact, there was a situation where a few of them came back.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did you take them back?
Yes, on our terms. Yeah. And then, of course, at the managerial level, we are also looking at ways of making sure that we diversify the training. We are taking on management trainees out of the market so that we start training them for the commercial side of things like sales and so forth. So there's a lot going on.
Let me touch on one last question. Is the brand. You know, it's the pride of Africa. It's very much an African brand. How do you feel about the brand equity? I know you've done a lot of work in the last 12 months. Kenya Airways is much more in people's minds now than it was before. Does it need these new planes to freshen it up? Or are we, how would you...
I think we've done two things. One is you've got to maintain your brand equity so that you survive. So we cannot say, let's wait for the new airplanes for us to do anything. And that's what you've seen in the last few months, that we've been working a lot on it. There is, however, behind the scenes, another plan to make sure that when the new aircraft arrive, we have a change in our brand to make sure that it becomes more African. And you will see that as we go along in the next year.
Because I think, our people are very patriotic and we can tap into that, right?
Yeah, and I hope they're patriotic enough to make sure that they fly all those with Kenya Airways.
We'll make sure.
Show that patriotism in real terms.
No, they will, I'm sure. Have you got any message you want to give out to investors in a closing remark? Or?
My closing remark is I have confidence in us, I have confidence in the management of Kenya Airways. We may have had a bad year this year, we'll have a bad year this year, but we're turning around the airline. I mentioned a number of things around what is happening with the fleet. I mentioned a number of things around the airport. Because there's no way we can compete with the current fleet we have, nor can we compete with the current airport as it is. But having seen the fact that there is a light at the end of the tunnel in all those respects, I have the confidence that we're going to turn around the country.
So do I.
Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Naikuni.
Thank you very much, Daddy.
Thank you.
Great.